fought.
Oh, this is a interesting matchup. We got
So it looks like we're round 2.
Round 2.
Affinity piloted by Gerard.
It looks like the rock lobster has cut through the paper tiger in the classic match of rock, paper, scissors.
Paper tigers are so fragile.
I mean, they lose to rock lobsters. Oh, wait, actually,
no, they beat rock
lobsters. What was the scissors one?
Scissor lizard.
Scissors lizard. They lose to scissors lizard. Sorry about that.
Paper tigers are still pretty fragile.
So we got Gerard on Affinity and Paul on Mono Green Tron. Gerard, a longtime player here. A lot of times we actually see him working in the judge station for us, but also a longtime Affinity player. Knows the deck pretty well, inside and out. I believe he's played Owen Turnwald the last GP we went to in Modern.
He did have Owen tweet that he just beat the heck out of Gerard.
Hey, sometimes you get beat by Owen. It happens.
Sometimes it happens.
But yeah, Gerard, I think to get to that point, I believe he was 5-0 going in, so... Yep. He knows his stuff coming to with Affinity. Paul, we know, is a longtime Modern player, so he knows a lot of the ins and outs of the format, and it looks like he's on Mono Green Tron for the night. So we'll see how this goes. So Affinity looking to just dump everything it has out of its hand and just come in with its super aggro turns.
And then Mono Green Tron trying to exile everything that Affinity just played on turn 3.
Yeah, it wants to find Tron, obviously, with Mono Green using Ancient Stirring, Sylvan Scrying, Expedition maps to take a look to set up the good Tron turns. And then...
Paul has a full set of the original Tron arts.
Okay.
So I see a power plant and a tower.
Oh, I see. He has like one of each art.
One of each. Okay. So it'll be interesting.
Yep, I do that a lot. So
Expedition map will help. There's Sylvan Scrying, Oblivion Stone, Walking Ballista, Wormcall.
And knowing...
That's a keep.
That's a super good hand for the Tron player. Yeah. It'll set him up for a Tron by turn 4 if he doesn't get it naturally.
Well, turn 3.
Turn
1
3,
map,
sorry,
turn 2 sack it.
Correct. Sorry, turn 3, no matter what. And
which means he can drop either the Oblivion Ring or the Wormcoil.
Yeah, the O-Stone is the big thing. If he can play the O-Stone...
Oblivion Stone, that's right.
Yeah, if he plays O-Stone, it'll take care of all the stuff that the Affinity player is going to try and dump out. Walking Ballista is good to take care of all the 1 toughness stuff that Infinity wants to put out as well. All of which are activated off 7 natural mana through Tron. Yep. So
now Gerard having a mulligan down to 6.
Yep.
Like you were saying, Affinity wants to dump their hand turn 1, and the more cards he has, the better.
Yep. And the thing is, Affinity though it is rather resilient to mulligans. You could go down to 6 and still have an incredibly aggressive hand. Just by virtue of dumping the whole thing out, turn 1 or 2. However, Gerard and Paul are both on clocks. Basically, Gerard has to outrace Paul to get to whatever sweepers Paul is going to have.
So, Spire of Industry, Mountains, Springleaf Drum, which helps enable stuff, Ornithopter, Arcbound Ravager, and an Etched Oracle.
That's kind of everything.
Etched Champion, sorry.
That's almost everything you want in there.
Yeah.
It'll get you going.
2 lands, so he has enough to start castle stuff. Springleaf Drum, which turns all his creatures into mana.
Yep.
I think he would have liked the equipment, the black equipment.
Batterskull?
No. +1 for each artifact. I can't think of the name right now. Once he
cranial
pulls
plating.
That's it. Cranial plating.
Yeah.
That's something that he definitely wants to see. But the Arcbound Ravager is always welcome in your hand.
Alright, looks like the Spire of Industry coming out.
Springleaf Drum.
Ornithopter, I think that's Ornithopter.
Yep, Ornithopter and a drum.
Drum, yeah.
Here's the map.
Yep.
It's a map.
Looks like Gerard is going to dump what he can here and just start going to town.
So right now the Ornithopter represents mana.
Yep. As well as he should have another land source coming into play.
There's a Memnite, 1/1.
There's the other land source.
There's Mountain. So he's got 3 mana available to him.
Yep.
Arcbound Ravager.
Yep. Arcbound Ravager, Jake, if you can pull that up, key card in the Affinity matchup. Basically letting him shift counters around when he needs to.
Makes combat math very difficult.
Yeah, it makes Affinity slippery, as it were.
Yes. With the
Yep, that's fine.
Not Ichor Wellspring. Inkmoth Nexus.
Yes, the land
Being able to move Ravager counters onto a Nexus.
is pretty sweet.
You can switch over to infect damage and kill people out of nowhere.
Yep.
And that's what actually the land that he played.
Oh, did he? Oh, that's the WMCQ promo, Inkmoth Nexus. Very pretty. Gerard showing off that cool foil affinity deck.
Yeah. So there's an attack. On board it's only 2. Sacrificing Springleaf Drum makes it 3. And post-combat,
Playing the
Edge Champion.
Or Edge Champion, sorry.
And that one's got Sunburst? No, that's not Sunburst. Metalcraft. So 3 or more artifacts, so now it's got protection from everything.
Okay.
So I see a mine, a power plant, and a tower.
Yeah,
so even though the one on the top looks like a tower, that's actually one of the mine arts that Paul was able to fetch with the expedition map.
So Paul being able to get onto Tron on turn 3 here, he'll be able to play the O-Stone. He won't be able to activate it this turn. He will be able to activate it next turn, which is actually going to be super significant.
I believe it costs a total of 9 to cast and play.
Yeah, it costs 4 to play, 5 to activate, or did I get that flipped?
We'll see what he taps.
Sure.
3 to cast. Oh, so it costs 8.
Yeah.
3 to cast, 5 to activate, I believe. Yeah. And he had 4 left over to put out a Walking Ballista on 2.
Yeah, the Walking Ballista is significant because it can block and start to pick off the pieces of Gerard's affinity pile kind of efficiently. If not, I mean, the O-Stone will take care of it next turn as well. And actually, most importantly, it'll take care of the Inkmoth Nexus if it gets animated before Gerard can basically put more counters on it.
Right.
Let's see. Gerard has a decision right now because he knows the O-Stone is active, basically. It's online. So he has to figure out a way to either race or just come all in here.
So he plays the Springleaf Drum, which represents sacking to the Ravager.
Right.
Now he can attack with the Inkmoth Nexus. It does not have Summoning Sickness. But like you were saying, the problem with the Walking Ballista is
it can ping it.
It can get pinged.
Yep. So while Affinity is one of those decks that can win by turn 4, turn 5, and you kind of just dump out your entire hand, there's a lot of intricate like combat math, and like what Gerard's doing right now is he has to figure out the most optimal way to maximize the damage that he can get into Paul this turn, knowing that the O-Ring or the O-Stone is online.
Looks like an attack for 5.
So conversely, Paul also has to do the same thing, figuring out what the most optimal block and ping situation is with his Walking Ballista.
And the Ravager making everything difficult because it can change very quickly.
Yep.
So here's Paul responding to the sacrifice trigger.
Looks like Gerard's going to pump the Ravager and resack. Okay, so he sacked everything basically to the Ravager.
Now, I believe Paul was shooting at the Etched Champion, which has protection from all colors, but not Walking Ballista is colorless.
Yeah. And that might be one of the few ways to take care of stuff.
So that's a hit for 6. Seagate Wreckage.
Yep. So we'll see if Paul decides to actually use the O-Stone here.
So Seagate Wreckage is a land which will enable Paul to draw.
That's a Wormcoil Engine.
Yeah.
So this card is very significant in this matchup because of the life gain coming off that Wormcoil Engine changes any sort of aggro math that Gerard has for Affinity. So he has to figure out a way to deal with it cleanly, because if he just kills it, it comes back basically as little
2 separate creatures.
two little guys. So he has to figure things out. We'll see.
And this is the part where I don't think Gerard's got choices, because he's spent his whole hand.
Yep.
There's still an Oblivion Stone on the board.
It's rough because the normal plan would be to start activating your Inkmoth Nexuses and start going for the poison plan.
Right.
Because you're not going to necessarily win it coming in.
Especially once the Wormcoil is on the board.
Yeah.
Damage isn't going to be enough.
The O-Stone is alive, right? So that's an issue. However, the O-Stone cannot be activated specifically this turn. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so he's got to get in while the getting's good.
Right, and the getting's good.
Once Paul is untapped...
And the thing is, Paul needs to leave up mana on Gerard's turn to take care of the Inkmoth Nexus on Gerard's turn, because at the end of turn, the Inkmoth Nexus becomes a land again, and you basically can't O-Stone it on your own turn. So going forward, I don't expect to see Paul play a card in... he wants to leave mana up for the O-Stone, basically.
Yeah. Now, we don't have space on our tracker for it, but the dice up there represents 7 infect damage.
Okay,
so 7 poison counters.
Paul has 7 poison counters, and for those of you who are not familiar with Modern or Poison, once he hits 10, he loses the game.
Yep.
Ancient Stirring's one of the most powerful cards in Modern right now. Lets Paul cantrip for a colorless card, which includes Urza lands, but quite a few things that he can use in his deck. Let's see what he picks up.
Now, whenever I'm playing against Tron, the biggest problem for me is going to be Ugin.
Yep.
Because he exiles all color permanents.
Yep.
Affinity already has an edge against that because it's also a colorless deck.
Correct.
So,
actually,
not as big an issue for
I actually wouldn't be surprised to see Paul take Ugin out in game 2. For that specific reason, and also it costs 8 mana.
Yeah.
It's a little slow. You can't even cast it on your natural Tron turn. And Affinity wants to go fast, so he's going to want to do stuff that interacts with Gerard's board earlier.
Now, the nice thing about Oblivion Stone with the Wormcoil, like we were saying, if Gerard was able to block and kill the Wormcoil, it just comes back. Same thing if Paul does blow the Oblivion Stone to take out the Inkmoth Nexus, he still keeps 6 power on the board.
Does he? O-Stone doesn't exile? Or does it?
I'm not sure. O-Stone destroys.
Okay,
I will double check.
Cool. You guys are much more familiar with Modern than I am, but that's how that would be.
Oblivion Stone destroys.
Destroys. Okay, yeah.
And Gerard throwing in the towel.
Yeah, because he knows the O-Stone can take care of his Inkmoth Nexus, and without additional gas, I actually imagine that he would need another Inkmoth Nexus. Basically.
All Paul had to do was keep attacking with the Wormcoil.
Yeah.
There was no point where Paul needed to cast anything.
Really, as soon as that O-Stone hit the floor, or hit the playing field, Gerard definitely was on the back foot because he had already used all his gas. He actually even got Paul down with 7 poison counters, which is pretty close. I mean, one more good attack like that can do it.
And it can get you out of nowhere. If there's enough artifacts on the board,
they can just sack them all.
Ravager just moves them all instantly.
Yep.
And
it gets out of hand very quickly.
And one of the things about the Ravager, when you sacrifice it to itself, if there's a Ravager with 1 counter, and you have another creature, you can actually sacrifice the Ravager to itself, and you move 2 counters onto the other creature instead of just the 1.
Oh, no kidding.
I'm pretty sure. Ben at the table, our judge, should be able to keep it straight, but because you are sacrificing it to put a counter on the...
Right.
I might be wrong. I'm double checking right now. The fact that you looked at me like that makes me unsure.
Don't look at me. I'm learning Modern as I go along.
Validating. Alright, sacrifice an artifact, put a counter on Archon Ravager. Modular. When this enters, when it dies, you may put its counters on target artifact creature. Alright, I might be wrong.
Okay.
I'm not sure. We'll see. I remember there was some sort of weird interaction like that, though.
So we'll see Gerard definitely be on the play here. Affinity likes doing that, so hopefully we'll see him with a full 7 and see how it goes. I think this matchup really just comes down to Gerard racing Paul.
Yeah.
And the race is not necessarily a race of life totals. Gerard's racing his life total, or Paul's life total versus Paul's ability to produce 7 mana or 8 mana on turn 3.
Now, this actually says that Gerard got the win round 1.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm not... I would think Oblivion Stone destroys the Inkmoth Nexus. It says non-lands, but... Well, I'm double-checking.
Sure.
Destroy each non-land permanent. Okay, so I guess since it's a land,
okay,
it gets
so
around.
Gerard did poison it. Sweet.
I thought since it was a creature, it would still be destroyed by it. But
yeah. Yep, in fact. Yep.
And we're getting confirmation.
Yep.
The land was not destroyed by Oblivion Stone.
So it is not land. So it is also still a land. That's why. It's a creature, but it's also still a land. The Inkmoth itself.
Yep.
Yeah, so let me see. Paul needs to probably have stuff that interacts with stuff like Inkmoth.
Well, Paul had Ulamog in hand.
Yes.
He was just short of being able to cast it, though.
He is 1 short, right? One Tron land short. He had 9, I believe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was stuck at 9.
Yeah.
And that deals very well with
everything.
Inkmoth Nexus, because it exiles regardless.
That looks like a great card to come in from Gerard's side. Blood Moon, classic card versus Tron decks.
I saw 2 dispatches, and it looked like a the split card.
Wear and Tear.
Wear and Tear, thank you.
Yep, that's Wear and Tear. Looks like Gerard's taking out some cards from his Affinity deck. Probably assuming that the cards are going to be a little slow. And like we said, Paul's taking out those Ugins, Walking Ballistas, and
Relics.
Yeah.
So the dispatch that Gerard is bringing in is 1 white mana, tap a creature. But if he has Metalcraft, which he likely will, instead of tapping the creature, you exile it.
Ooh.
So it could be very relevant for him.
Yep. That'll work very well against Wormcoil Engine.
Nice, clean answer to it.
Yeah. Thragtusk. That's a clean answer.
This looks to be what Paul's bringing in.
Yep.
So the 3 Thought-Knot Seer, very big body, disruption. Nature's Claim, strong card against any artifact deck.
Yep. Then, more Wormcoil Engine, we like that. Emrakul basically I think is coming in for Ugin.
Stealing your opponent's turn when they have a Ravager on board.
It's pretty sweet. Making it so that you sack all the worst stuff for your opponent is a pretty sweet sweet piece of tech.
I'm going to take your turn and make a really big Ravager that's going to sacrifice itself to itself.
Yeah. That one of my favorite kind of interesting interactions with the newer Emrakul, or kind of like the Promised End Emrakul, is that when you Mindslaver something, you have to think inversely to how you normally play Magic. Because let's say I'm playing you, Andy. My favorite thing to do when I play Magic is do the best thing I can possibly do against my opponent, right? So when you actually Mindslaver somebody with either Emrakul or Mindslaver, I find that it's really interesting that what you're trying to do is the worst thing you can possibly do in Magic. So
how bad can I mess him up?
So what is the worst line of play I can play? And when your brain is accustomed to look for the best line of play, it's really fun to think of the inverse way of doing it, looking for the absolute worst line of play for a person.
And it almost always ends up in attacking into Emrakul.
Yeah, attacking into Emrakul. I like ones specifically like when your opponent's playing Pain Lands or Fetch Lands, just randomly fetching or getting the wrong thing.
I failed to find a land.
Oh no, we fetched it. Land. Yeah, exactly. Like really weird things like that. Like Planeswalkers targeting or ultimating, or doing weird things like that. You know, that's always fun. A little more complicated in Commander, though.
Yeah, a little bit. There's a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah.
Alright, so I'm seeing at least 2 of the 3 Tron lands for Paul.
See if he has any of his other fixing pieces.
We've got a tower, 2 power plants,
Chromatic Sphere,
Oblivion Stone, Thought-Knot, Ulamog.
Yep.
So Sphere will let him dig. It also gives him green mana if he's able to find an Ancient Stirrings.
Yep. It's actually he really needs to find a way to get that 3rd Tron land, because otherwise he's actually kind of stuck on the low. And does Gerard actually mulligan again?
Looks like another mulligan.
All right. But like we saw earlier, Affinity has no problems really going down to 6 as long as it has the kind of the key components it needs.
See, I disagree.
You don't think so?
I'm not an Affinity player, but it feels
Sure.
bad to me. There's not card draw in the Affinity deck.
Yeah. I found that
every card they go down is a resource loss.
Affinity is super resilient. Like in a lot of like the big GBs and stuff, like you'll see Affinity going down to 5 and still crushing an opponent. Because like it has enough gas if you hit all the parts that the other person still doesn't have time to recuperate, regardless, react. Right. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel good going down to 6, but I think of the decks that are resilient, Affinity is one of the more resilient ones.
It feels even worse going down to 5.
It does. If he has no lands, however...
We've had this discussion.
Although in modern Affinity, I might make an exception, because it's one of those weird decks where you can play a lot of zero-cost things.
Now, it looks like... Jake has prepped the scoreboard for this round.
Yep, he has Infect ready. He should add one for Gerard just in case somehow.
Paul might be able to flip it on him.
Yeah, exactly.
So it looks like he's keeping this hand. Can't really see what he's got. Okay, Master of Ethereum, Archbound Ravager, Inkmoth Nexus, Ornithopter. And I didn't get to the last one. I believe it was Springleaf Drum.
And he's on the draw, which
Mox Opal.
All right. Yep. So yeah, Gerard can actually play quite a few things out of his hand right now. So grab that Ornithopter, put in the Mox Opal, dropping the Springleaf Drum.
He's got 2 mana. He can drop the Ravager, I believe.
Tapping them. Yep. And look, just like that, you've got an Affinity board red. Well, he has 1 card.
Master of Ethereum, which is coming down next turn.
Correct. But just like that, you got an Affinity board, right?
Yep.
And we saw Inkmoth, so depending on how
we're looking at Infect, possibly.
Exactly, we might have the Infect plan back on the board. Back on the board. Man, that is a good Magic card. Inkmoth Nexus. Yeah.
It's not bad.
I haven't seen Infect in a while. Now that I think about it.
It fell off once they got rid of Gitaxian Probe.
Yeah.
So, Expedition Map, Chromatic Sphere.
So we do have a way to get Tron on turn 3.
Darksteel Citadel. So you can play the Master of Ethereum, pump everybody.
I think he's going to do that. Yep.
Can we get that one up on screen there, Jake? Master of Ethereum.
And just like the Affinity player likes to do, turn them sideways.
So Ornithopter tapping is now a 1/3. Master of Ethereum, I'm seeing 6 artifacts, so he's a 6/6. Arcbound Ravager is a 2/2, so that was a swing for 3. Now, part of the problem, he's dealing normal damage, which doesn't help the infect damage.
Right.
The infect damage doesn't help the normal damage.
Correct.
So you're splitting yourself. You're almost dealing 30 damage if you're not sure which way you're trying to get the kill.
Yeah. I mean, I think to an empty board, you still stick with your major game plan of, kill the guy from 20 to 0.
Yep.
And then you switch to the backup game plan when things get a little dicey. So I think,
apparently, once you see the Oblivion Stone.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that's exactly what you have to do, because the Oblivion Stone takes care of all your gas on the board, but it doesn't take care of the one infect piece. So it's a nice outlet to have. But we see Paul here getting natural, or not natural, but he's on Tron now. I love the rock. That's my favorite power plant art, is the rock in the bucket.
The one behind the tower,
yeah, that's my favorite one, rock in the bucket. That one, and then lightning bolt.
That's probably one of my that's might be my favorite mine, the little robot.
Oh, the pulley.
Yeah.
No, that's not pulley. That is pulley or something. But yeah, definitely.
So Paul sacrificing the sphere. He's got 1 green, 1 colorless.
Yep.
Plays the sphere, turns it green.
Pop it again, see what we get.
No stirrings.
So Paul next turn will be on 9 mana.
If he draws a tower, he's on 10.
Yes.
Which means Ulamog comes out to play.
Correct. This is Gerard's. Basically, Gerard has this turn and next turn.
Yeah.
But that might be enough. Because right now I see. Did he just play that Ornithopter?
He played the second Ornithopter,
Okay,
so it
so
can't
it's-
attack.
So it's 1, 2, 3. If he sacks 4, 5, 6, 7.
I'm counting 11
Yeah.
without sacking.
Yeah, without
That's
sacking.
turning the Inkmoth into an artifact creature, which also pumps the master.
Yeah.
So that's now 3,
Sorry.
8 artifacts on board. So that's an 8/8 master.
It's an 8/8 master. Yep. You are correct.
Plus a 2/2 Ravager, 1/3 Ornithopter. That's 11. And then the infect creature can attack too. For 1 infect. So
yeah, that's 11 on board.
Yep. So Paul's at 6 by my math, because right now he's tapped out, no response.
Yep.
No real reason not to do what you can. So Gerard doing some math.
No, combat math matters here, because 11 into 6, even if Paul plays Ulamog next turn,
it can only block 1 creature.
Correct. So Gerard has to have a certain amount. Like, he'll be at 6.
Right. And no matter what Ulamog tries to exile, if it's not the Ravager, well, no matter what it tries to exile, we're probably going to see dice moving.
Yeah. And that's going to be a lot of decision for Paul, too, because he has to figure out if he wants to take care of the Inkmoth Nexus, the Ravager, or the Master of Ethereum. All 3 are threats.
It looks like he drew a backup Ulamog, so now he's got 9
He's
mana
short.
and 2 Ulamogs.
Yeah, like, given this, he might be dead next turn on board.
Yeah.
The O Stone costs 3. Yeah.
And he can activate it.
Yeah, he can blow it up. He has to just buy time for Ulamog. Yeah. So Gerard has to decide what he wants to do.
So Mox Opal's able to turn the Inkmoth Nexus into a creature to receive the counters. If he can get enough counters on it. Now he did not attack this turn, so there's no infect yet.
Yeah.
Or rather, he didn't attack on his turn with the Inkmoth.
Mm-hmm. And then he's going to shift them all.
So 6 counters onto it.
Yep.
He kept the Darksteel Citadel so he can animate it. So Paul's got 2 turns to find a land to be able to Ulamog away the Nexus. Well, he's got 1 turn.
One
Sorry.
turn. Yeah. Activate. Coming in for 6 infect.
7.
7 infect, yeah.
So Paul needs a land here.
Yeah, Paul
or
needs
some way to find one.
Or he can't even cantrip really well if he doesn't.
He
found a land. Okay.
Alright, so we do have Ulamog.
Ulamog? Ulamog.
And that's going to turn this game around.
Yeah. There are going to be no more lands here.
Gerard was nice enough to shrink the board for him.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. He could have all-in on his Inkmoth as well. Now with Ulamog done, I don't actually think Gerard has a ton of outs left. There's nothing hasting coming in.
He doesn't have Metalcraft, so Dispatch won't work.
Yep. I'm pretty sure this game goes to Paul here.
1 land, that's all it took to turn it around.
Yep. Like he said earlier, this race is a race of life totals versus Tron totals.
Yep. And Gifts Ungiven, you're right. If he had sacked one more, the Darksteel, he could have gone up to 8.
Yeah.
It would have been a one-time shot, hope for a land. But Ulamog don't care. So.
Yeah. This card is good. It was good when you could cheat it in with...
it was ridiculous good when you could cheat it in off the
Aetherworks Marble.
Yeah.
Yeah. It felt good turn 4, but just exiling stuff over and over again.
So Paul has a choice between Vault Scourge and Arcbound Ravager. It goes for the Vault Scourge because that can get cast first.
Yep. And this should just clean it up here.
Yeah.
Looks like we're going to go.
And there's a handshake. Yep. Off to game 3.
Yep. Gerard will be on the play here. Really significant given that the Affinity player is just trying to race the Tron player to his turn 8 kind of play, or set 8 mana play.
Yep.
Yeah, I loved that deck. I won't lie, and it was good even without Aetherworks Marvel. That's how good Temur Energy was. It was just efficient in every way. I remember winning. I recall winning tons of matches with just Thopters and Torrential Gear Hulks, and then even straight hard casting Ulamog, because that's how long the games went. You could just stall out the games with the Whirler Virtuoso Thopters for a long time because he had so much energy. You were just producing more and more energy every time.
Nice mechanic. I don't think we'll ever see it come back in that level.
It was a little pushed. Actually, I think a lot of the sets around that, like Kaladesh, like whole Kaladesh block was pretty pushed.
Yeah.
As we've seen, given that all the Kaladesh cards are still in major part of standard decks. Yeah.
It'll be interesting this October.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have a whole new standard in a few months now, and
we're losing Amonkhet, we're losing Kaladesh.
We're going from 8 sets to 4 sets or something like that. 5 sets.
Yeah.
The 5th one is coming out. Yeah.
Yep.
So we're definitely going to see a big change in the landscape. We'll see if the red decks. I think part of the function of the reason why red decks are so prominent is that they get to choose from 8 sets worth of good cards.
Well, plus red does best at the beginning when. In October, I fully expect to see a red deck towards the top because red deck, just throw burn spells in and keep the board clear. It's
the easiest way to, the simplest answer, as it were.
Plus, it's already strong. Now there is a rotation-proof black burn deck out there.
Oh, I saw that.
Standard, and I've played against it a couple times online. It's actually not that bad.
I've seen a couple of interesting monocolored decks. There's like devotion decks that seem that people are getting into right now.
Yeah.
Void. I remember playing Void Winner in the sideboard.
That is a huge card in Commander now.
I played 2 of those in the sideboard.
Yep.
And people laughed at me, and then you play it and you're like, you can't play any of the things that activate your Marvel. This is hilarious. You can't play the Puzzle Knot. You can't play the Marvel itself. You can't play Ulamog. It's a lot of stuff. It looks like Paul might be mulliganing, or is he just taking a... He's looking. He's taking a gander.
Just sitting back.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So, Inkmoth Nexus, 2 Mox Opals,
Galvanic Glass.
Darksteel Citadel, Galvanic Glass, and Ravager Springleaf.
Okay.
The double Opal is a bit of an issue, but not bad.
Could be worse.
He's got the Ravager, he's got the Blast.
Yeah, he could always sack the Opal to play the other Opal. There are options.
Yep.
And Paul has to go down to 6.
Yeah.
I would say that mulligans would hurt the Tron player a lot more than the Affinity player. The reason why I say Affinity is resilient after mulliganing is, it loses a lot. It's an aggro deck that loses gas, but because there's so many opening lines for Affinity, if that makes sense, there's so many combinations of opening lines that still allow you to dump your entire hand, that it's more resilient than a typical mulligan, like, say, for Tron, whereas it's the more you lose, like, the more key components you're really not getting to start your combo.
Okay, so Tower, Emrakul, Stirrings, 3 stars. So turn 1's going to go Tower, Star, Search.
Yeah. So there's going to be 2 or 3 turns that Paul's going to be searching here, which it might be too late, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Interesting.
So he's floating.
So that's 3 mana he's got now.
Yeah. Bring that Ravager. He went 1. Yeah, okay.
Doing some math in my head. Archon costs 2, so I'm not sure why he did it that way.
1, 2.
Because it seems like he could have done that without sacking the first one. So, turn 1 for Paul was drop the star. Turn 2 is going to be search.
Yep. No, that should be okay. Come in for 2 or 1.
Sacking the opal.
Come in for 2. Okay, yeah. Okay. And what else? He had Galvanic Blast. Is that another opal?
So the first one must not have been an opal.
No, that's 3 opals. Right? Yeah, that's 3 opals.
I'm still confused why he sacked the first one.
He sacked it to get the counter, right? Onto the Ravager?
I don't know.
Yeah,
it's in the past.
It's in the first Ravager, yeah.
It's in the past.
I just want to make sure that's the 3rd opal.
We're in the past.
That's true.
It's all in the past.
Graveyard is 2 long. Yeah, so that's
Okay.
the 3rd opal. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so he sacked both opals to the Ravager, basically.
I'm in the now, Alex.
Okay. So that's where we are.
I'm trying to see what's being stirred. What is Paul stirring over there? Looks like an Ulamog. What else is in there? He's doing a very good job of hiding it from the camera.
See,
Oblivion Stone.
I can't see it.
So he did draw a land. Oh no, that's his hand over there. No, this is his hand.
Yeah, this is the
So
stirrings.
he drew a mine.
This is the stirrings right here. Okay, so
There's a tower.
There's a tower. World Breaker.
So Ulamog, Sphere, Tower, World Breaker, Oblivion Stone.
Okay.
So on this board, I'm thinking you got to go with the land.
Yeah, you got to take the land, right?
I would be land or Sphere.
It's
one of
land
those.
or Ulamog, I think. Oh, but Gerard also has Ink
He
Moth.
went for the World Breaker.
The World Breaker kills the land for.
It does kill the Ink
It
Moth.
kills the Ink Moth. Actually, yeah, I was gonna say Gerard actually played an Ink Moth turn 2, so World Breaker might actually be the better play. It because it also.
He's got to get to it though.
I know, but he still has 2 other. He has 2 more stars, right? Yeah, he has 2 more stars.
All right.
He still has to get to it, but like, let's say he can resolve the World Breaker. The World Breaker takes care of the Inkmoth Nexus, and it is a reasonable 5/7 blocker, and it only costs 7 as opposed to costing 10.
And the Ink Moth is the problem for him. We've
Yes.
seen that.
Yeah.
He's got the Oblivion Stone that can deal with the rest, but that
Exactly.
takes time.
And then Paul is already. I mean, it's rough to begin with because he has to hit the lands and stuff.
He has to.
Yeah,
Yes.
he still has to do that.
Gerard doing some math.
Yep.
Yeah, World Breaker, as a cast trigger, he's able to exile the Inkmoth Nexus. So
Yes.
there's nothing Gerard could even do about it.
Correct.
He could animate it and sack it to a Ravager, but it doesn't fix it the way that Gerard wants to save it.
Correct. And World Breaker also represents reach, and it costs 7. Like, it's a much more efficient pull than Ulamog.
Yep.
So it looks like Gerard's going to animate his Inkmoth Nexus, start the Infect Train, as well as come in for 2 with the Arcbound.
Yeah, last game, like Gifts on Givens pointed out, he could have gotten 8 damage in, so every point before that.
Yeah, matters. Like if
Makes
somehow
it easier.
if somehow he can get maybe 2 or 3 incidental points of poison in, like he can all in one turn if Paul isn't able to get the World Breaker in time. And the thing that people forget about World Breaker is it has reach.
It does.
People forget about that way too much. The Chromatic Sphere is going to help him.
So he has 1 green.
He's
there's
probably got to
the
play
second-
Sylvan Scrying. Yeah.
He's grabbing a power plant, and now he'll have 2 mana, be able to put up the
Chromatic
sphere and a
Sphere.
star.
Yeah. And by being able to play the Sphere this turn represents that he can play the World Breaker next turn.
Right.
Yeah. However, that means this turn Gerard can get in for. Let's count real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He can get in for 5 Infect without talking about anything that's in his hand right now. Like on board, he can get in for 5, 6, 7. Sorry, 7 infect. Right?
7, yes.
So he can get in for 7 infect. There's a star.
I thought he had a sphere too. Might be wrong.
I think, did he crack the sphere?
He did crack a sphere. I thought he had another.
Okay.
So it has Seagate Wreckage, so he has 10 mana next turn. I didn't see another Tron land.
So Gerard can play a land and another artifact. If he can play a land and 2 artifacts, he has enough infect damage.
Now he's also got 3 card types in his graveyard. He's got Emrakul Promise End in his hand.
Ooh. Oh.
He's not to it, I don't think, but we do have the possibility of an Arcbound Ravager gone mad.
It's 13. Delirium makes it minus for the amount of Delirium cards in there, right?
Correct.
So if he has 3, well, he doesn't have Delirium. You need 4.
It's not Delirium. It costs 1 less to cast for each card type, so he doesn't need Delirium.
So he has to have 10 available.
So it normally costs 13. He has 3 types in his graveyard right now.
So he needs 10.
So a tower means he can play Emrakul. And then we'll see Gerard go mad and sack his whole board.
If Gerard somehow actually had 3 artifacts in his hand, like a land and 2 artifacts, I think he has it on board, right? Because he has 7 right now, and then if he had a Dark Steel and 2, a Dark Steel and an artifact, wouldn't that be 9 infect damage?
Yeah, if he can get up 2 more.
Yeah, he needs to find 2 artifacts, including maybe a land. So we'll see what he has in his hand. We know one of the cards is...
Cranial Plating does it too, but he tapped his Nexus to play it.
Yeah.
Cranial Plating +1/+0 for each artifact he controls. Doing a bunch of math.
This is interesting now because on cast, Paul has to choose something he's going to exile for the World Breaker here. This is a key turn right here.
Well, like you were saying, it has reach. So right now the Cranial Plating is less of a problem, I think, than the Nexus.
Yeah.
And he has the green mana through the star.
Seagate
World Breaker
Record.
being an odd void card.
So he has 8 available mana.
Is that a Nature's Claim that he's looking at?
I can't see very well. Oh, he's tapping
8.
all 8. Is that Ugian? No, that's O Stone.
Oblivion Stone, activate.
And activate, okay.
So he's forcing the... he's tapped out. No, there's...
Gerard has no way to
activate.
activate the...
He's got the Springleaf Drum, but no creatures for it.
Yeah, that's...
Well-timed.
Yeah, very well-timed. And the thing is, even if Gerard can activate for Inkmoth Nexus this turn, next turn he could World Breaker.
Yep. Yeah, that Oblivion Stone bought a lot of time there.
Yeah. O-Stone does work, man. That's the new card I have to start naming when I play humans. Or that's the card I name when I play humans and play Meddling Mages, just say O-Stone.
There's a mine, so he's up to 10 mana. So he can go Emrakul, he can go Ulamog.
The thing about Emrakul is that, I mean, it's great to Mindslaver right now, but there's nothing really to do.
Yeah, Ulamog's the better play right here.
Yeah, I don't think he has Ulamog, though. Because he passed that up on that last Ancient Stirrings.
I'll have to get another look.
Alright, he gets that forest. That should take care of, if he does have Nature's Claim, it'll take care of whatever artifact rolls through. It also lets him just hard cast the World Breaker.
Yeah.
Thought Knot Seer is also very solid here, too. Yeah, which is, I think, what he's going to play.
Thought Knot Seer coming down.
Yep.
So he's going to look at Gerard's hand and pull something from it.
So Gerard has Galvanic Blast. So there's likely that he's just going to use it instead of getting no value.
So 3 damage out of it.
Yep. I think 2.
Is it 2?
Yeah, Galvanic Blast goes from 2 to 4 if he has enough artifacts, but I don't think he does, so I think it's just 2.
Yep, 2 damage.
Yeah. Second Inkmoth, he's going to animate 1, come in for Infect for 2, 3. So the World Breaker will be able to take care of 1, and the Reach should be able to take care of the other.
Right. Another Thought Knot Seer.
Yep.
So it looks like 11 mana now.
Yep.
There's a hit for 4.
Yep. What Paul can do is also just play Emrakul. Yeah, I think that might be what he might do right here. Because by playing Emrakul, he'll be able to take Gerard's turn, activate the Inkmoth Nexus, and attack into Emrakul itself.
To kill off one of the Nexus.
And then on the swing back next turn, Paul will have 17.
So here's Emrakul.
Yep.
So Emrakul lets him take Gerard's next turn, but Gerard gets next turn after that.
Yep. What is that?
Ooh, that's Dispatch.
Oh, wow.
So he can actually give Gerard Metalcraft, dispatch 1 Inkmoth, and attack into the other one.
I think.
Or no, he doesn't.
I think
have
he has to
enough mana.
activate. He has to activate the first Inkmoth,
So
make
that's
Gerard
one.
take 1 damage off the second
Spire of Industry.
Spire Industry, activate, and to kill his own Inkmoth.
Yep.
Yeah. That card would have actually been pretty decent off the top.
Yeah, that would have solved a lot of problems for Gerard.
Yeah.
Ravager, not so much.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
It does.
It helps with the Inkmoth
It blocks
plan.
the Thought Knot.
Yeah. But I believe that the World Breaker will just take care, or Nature's Claim will just take care of it as well.
Yeah.
And then he just comes in for lethal.
And here, yeah.
Yep.
Well fought.
Yep, that was the race. Affinity wasn't able to get there as quickly as the Tron lands got there.
It's a slow game for Tron Affinity.
A little bit. It was
Both very fast decks normally.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of back and
Paul
forth.
Paul had to dig
well
in that
fought.
last game in Game 3 to make sure that he had the right lands at the right time. And it worked out really well.
There's a handshake. We
Yeah.
don't get to see Emrakul the Promised End play that much.